The number one most popular trading strategy by far is the moving average crossover strategy. The strategy is very simple. You set two moving averages of different lengths on your chart. Then you enter a trade when the shorter length moving average crosses above the longer one, and you exit that trade when the opposite occurs. Why this strategy often ends up not working out for beginner traders is that the traders don't apply the correct moving average lengths that fit their trading goals, their trade style, their risk management. They just either pick lengths at random or maybe pick lengths that they see another trader using and attempt to apply that to their own strategies. My custom coded moving average strategy is a little different. In the settings cog of the strategy, you are able to easily adjust the lengths of the moving averages. So instead of 50 and 200, we could try a 20 and 50. Also, you can adjust the moving average type. Instead of SMAs, let's try exponential moving averages. Now I can easily run this strategy and look at how it performs versus the others. This is going to allow you to much more quickly optimize the types of moving averages you should be using that fit the way you want to be trading. And in today's video, we are going to build out the code behind this strategy step by step. So by the end of the video, you will have a tool that perfectly allows you to optimize, adjust, and test which moving averages work the best for you. So if I come into studies, edit studies, make sure you click on the strategies sub-tab first before you click this create button, else you will create a study. We of course want to build a strategy. So into strategies, into create. Now let's give ourselves a couple lines of code of room above this add order function, which we are going to utilize later. And let's begin to build out our code here. First off, we of course need to plot two moving averages on our chart. To do this, we are going to declare variables using the keyword plot. This, of course, means that whichever value stored inside of this variable will be plotted on the chart itself. So plot, and the first one will be our fast moving average. We're going to set this equal to the value of a study function. The study function, of course, being moving average. A beauty of ThinkorSwim is that if a study or if an indicator exists within the platform, you don't have to rebuild it in your custom code. You can simply reference it. So all I need to type in here is moving average, open close parentheses, and semicolon. And this is bringing in that moving average indicator. Now I'm getting an error because I need to set some default parameters inside of this, but this is the study function itself. So now let's worry about setting those parameters. And no, you do not have to have the parameters for every function memorized. I've been coding in ThinkorSwim for 5 years now, and I, of course, do not have every parameter memorized. Instead, I make use of the free website that is the ThinkorSwim Learning Center. This includes every single function that exists within this platform and its list of input parameters. So, as we can see here, for the moving average function, our parameters are of average type, data, and length. So now that you know how to find every function and every parameter within ThinkorSwim, if that begins to spark your interest in coding in this platform, over on my website, daytradingstrategies.net, I have developed a course that will teach you everything that I know about how to code in this platform, from creating custom strategies, studies, scanners, alerts, conditional orders, etc., etc. There are 10 chapters and 36 sections, and every single section comes with both a video lesson and a text lesson. So once again, if this sounds interesting to you, my website will be linked in the description of this video down below. Go click on course, check out the price. I promise you, this is the best value you're going to find for this type of information. So if it sounds interesting to you, go check it out. All right, so remember the first parameter of moving average is of average type. This is where we tell it whether it's simple, exponential, weighted, Hull, etc., etc. Now, average types are constants, which means we need to reference the area in which these constants are stored before we can let the machine know which average type we would like to use. So we need to type in average type dot simple. This is called dot notation, and what it means is that if I were to simply type in simple, that is not stored natively within ThinkorSwim. I have to reference the average type data set in which this constant is stored. That is what this dot notation is performing. If that doesn't make any sense to you, who really cares? Just copy what I'm writing down and you're golden. Next, the second parameter is of data. What do we want to base this moving average off of? And by default, and what almost every moving average, well, what every moving average by default goes off of is the closing price. So that's what we'll go ahead and set our moving average set to. And the third parameter is of length. Of course, this is where you decide over how many bars are we taking the simple average of the closing price. For now, let's go ahead and set our fast MA to 50. And of course, we need to also plot a slow MA. So once again, moving average, we are going to once again do the average type of simple based off of the closing price. Now for our slow moving average, we will set at default at the length of 200. Now, as I go ahead and hit OK and hit apply, on our charts, we will see plotted a 50 and a 200 simple moving average. And something really nice is that by default, when you have multiple plots in a custom code like that, they are set to different colors. So that's really nice. That's something we don't need to worry about in the future. But Trey, isn't the whole point of this code that we can quickly adjust the average type and lengths of our moving average for optimization and testing of the strategy? It is. Let's go ahead and fix that now. We actually broke a coding best practice when we created these plots. When you are coding parameters inside of study functions like this, you never, almost never, I mean, it kind of depends on what you're building, but the best practice is that you never want to hard code parameter values. Instead, what you want to do is you want to set these values as inputs at the top of your code. What I mean by that is if I do something like input of FMA, or let's do fast MA length, set this equal to 50, and then an input of slow MA length, set this equal to 200. Now, of course, instead of once again hard coding in these integers into my study functions, I would reference the variables in which I stored their values as inputs. So calling in now fast MA length and slow MA length into our plots. Of course, right now, that's not going to change anything, right? Because it's still the 50 and the 200. But if you notice, now coming back out into our edit studies modal, when looking at our new strategy 67 here, I never gave it a name, we can see a set of parameters on our custom code itself. And that is because since we set these variables as inputs, they now show here in the inputs and options section on our code, which allows us to easily come in and change those values, which, as you notice, change the plots on the chart. Something I want to touch on quickly before moving on with building this code is that when you adjust the input parameters from this settings cog here, it does not actually change your source code. So if I were to turn off this strategy and then go and turn back on this strategy, you will see those parameters are then back to set to 50 and 200. The input parameters will simply keep the values changed for as long as you are running this code on your charts. Like right now, if I go and look at any chart and on any time frame, I'm still looking at the 20 and the 50. But if I reload the strategy onto my chart, it will be back to whatever I set in the default of my source code. Now remember, in our finished product here, we also want to see an input parameter for the average type. We want to be able to quickly change between simple, exponential, Hall, weighted to find which average type works best for your trade strategies as well. So let's create another input parameter. I'll name this one MA type, and we will set this equal to, once again, have to reference this constant and the data value that it's stored in being average type. So average type dot simple. Now, of course, once again, we replace that hard call in our functions with the MA type variable that we have now stored this value within. So now as we run the code, once again, nothing will change, but you'll now see we have a drop down of MA types. Once again, since we use that average type reference, now we have all the constants stored within the average type data structure here available in our dropdown. So instead of simple, let's change it to exponential, and you'll notice the lines change a little bit. Let's change it to weighted, and you'll notice the lines change a little bit. So once again, you now have this input parameter that you can utilize to quickly optimize and test what works best for you. I actually don't even do this in my own code, but say if you wanted to also select your data type, you could set up the same sort of idea here, right? Creating a variable called data type and referencing that in your moving average plots rather than hard coding the close value. This should once again give us a drop down of the available price data type. So you want to base it off of the high of the last 50 and 200 rather than the close. You can do that now as well. So that was kind of the busy work of this code. Now that we have our two moving averages plotted and all set up to be fully customized, the rest of the code is pretty easy to build. First off, we need to buy out our entrance and exit conditions. So I am going to use keyword DEF, which is short for defined. This is the third and final declaration keyword that you can use for a variable in ThinkScript. This just simply means that the information stored within this variable is able to be referenced later in the code. It won't show up in the input parameters. It won't show up plotted on the chart, nothing like that. So the first one will be buy, and simply when our fast MA crosses above our slow MA, end your line of code with a semicolon, as we've been doing with every line of code. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. Hopefully you've seen it. But here we are simply using the comparator statement of crosses above, which means this statement here, this variable, should I say, will only return true on the candle that our faster MA length crosses above our slower MA length. See, if you use something like greater than here rather than crosses above, this now returns true every single bar in which the fast MA is above the slow MA. And we don't want to be throwing orders on every single one of those bars, right? That's why we use crosses above, and it's why for our sell, we will use fast MA crosses below slow MA, end the line of code with a semicolon. Now we are going to make use of that add order function. This is the function line of code that's been sitting there since we created this strategy. We're actually going to make use of this now, and what this function does is it actually plots our entrances and our exits on our chart based on our conditions. I don't expect you to memorize all these right now. I just wanted to show you, once again, from the ThinkorSwim Learning Center website, what the input parameters of the add order function are, so that as we're about to build them out, you'll sort of have an idea of what's going on. We've got type, condition, price, trade size, tick color, arrow color, and name. Something I will teach you here quickly about coding in ThinkorSwim is that the order of the input parameters is very important. As you are building out functions, the machine expects to read the parameters in this order. If you remember, the first two parameters of our add order action function are of type and condition. And you'll notice here in our default add order function, we have a type parameter separated by a comma. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet, but you separate your parameters by commas. Then we have our condition of no. So when you are writing in, once again, the parameters of a function, they should be in the correct order. The machine expects them in the correct order. As long as they are in the correct order, you do not need to specifically reference the parameter. But say I was going to really not care about the other parameters, just let them be whatever they're defaulted to, but I wanted to make use of the name parameter, which, if you remember, name is the last parameter of the add order function. I couldn't simply type in by here. This is the value I want for name, but the third parameter of the add order function is of data, which is reference to, it's price, which is reference to the data that you want to actually execute this trade at. Of course, buy is not a value that aligns with that information, so you get an error. What you would need to do is type in name equals buy. Once again, really all you need to take out of this, if you're going to reference parameters out of order, you need to specify the name of the parameter equals. If you're not, as long as you are using them in order that the machine expects, you don't need to reference this, which is why we haven't in any of our sort of plots up here, because remember, we reference the moving average parameters in the order that the machine expected. All right, let me come off of my little teaching tangent here within this video. If you're interested, once again, in that sort of stuff and in learning how to code, you get hours and hours of that kind of content from me, once again, over on my course. For now, let's go ahead and build out this strategy. So, first off, I am going to change the order type from buy auto to buy to open. This means I only want this order function to trigger when the order is being open, for lack of a better term. If set to buy auto, it will also make use of this condition in covering shorts and that sort of stuff, which right now we just don't want to partake in. We're going to set our condition parameter equal to buy. This is, of course, referencing the variable in which we stored our buy condition within. We can now, once again, reference that in the add order function. That is why we created this variable. That is why we created it with the declaration keyword of define. Next, the next parameter is of price. We want to have the order trigger at the close of the candle in which the moving average crossover happens, so we enter close. Now, the fourth parameter of the add order function is of trade size. And trade size is a very fun parameter. If I actually come and delete this comma so we can run this line of code as it is, and I hit apply and apply, first off, you're only ever going to see one order on this chart right now, as we have not set up yet the add order function for sell. So right now it's just entering and then not doing anything else. But what you'll notice here, if I can get zoomed in, it's kind of ugly with the candles. I don't think this changes size at all, even if I'm zoomed out. If you can see here, this little number, it says 100 underneath the name of our strategy. That means it is simulating 100 shares worth of SPY, or any ticker you'd be looking at time of order. And it is picking this trade size because back within our edit studies modal, under global strategy settings, the default trade size for entry orders is set to 100 contracts. However, utilizing this trade size parameter in the add order function, we can fully customize our trade size, the number of shares we want to simulate and gather the data of in our backtesting. The way that I like to go about this is by creating another input variable, and I'm actually going to create it at the very top, and I'm going to name this one position size. And what you want to set this variable to is the dollar amount that you would like to place in each trade that you take. I'm going to go with 25,000 as my default. You, of course, can set your own. And of course, since we're setting it of an input, we will be able to easily change this amount from the settings cog of our strategy. Now, back down to our add order action function and into our fourth parameter, that is trade size. I'm going to simply type in position size divided by close. This will put us in as many shares as we can evenly divide into of our position size. So now if I hit apply and apply, we see now, since SPY at the time of its first entrance was trading at or around $47, the strategy, if you can make out that little number, if you can't, I promise you, the strategy is now entering 531 shares. The final three parameters of the add order study function are simply look and feel ones. You've got tick color, arrow color, and name. So I'm going to go color.green. Once again, green is not a value stored natively within ThinkorSwim. You have to reference the color data type using dot notation. That is why we do that. We want the arrow color to also be color.green, and then I want the name to be buy. And since this is a string or a word, a collection of letters, I have to input this within these sort of quotation marks in order for the machine to know, hey, this is something you should be printing on the chart. As I now hit apply, you will simply notice our order down here change from the ugly purple and just saying the name of the strategy to now green and buy. Easy enough. Now we can jump down to the sell add order function. And we can get through this one a lot faster since we just covered all of the information in the first one. We're going to go with order type dot now sell underscore to underscore close, comma, we are going to reference the condition as our sell variable, of course, sell at the close of the candle, sell the full position size, and we'll set this one to color.red, and we will have it say sell. If we've done this correctly, as I hit apply now, we should be seeing all the orders painted on the chart for entrance and exit, and we see lines being drawn from our entrance to our exits. As we zoom across this whole chart, you will see all of the orders. And once again, a very nice feature of ThinkorSwim is that these orders will be firing on any chart you can load in. You don't have to go and adjust the code if you want to look at a different ticker, if you want to look at a different time frame. There's nothing you need to adjust. Whatever you can chart in ThinkorSwim, like even if I bring up Bitcoin futures here, whatever you can chart, your strategy will run against. However, there's currently a major flaw if you wanted to look at this strategy on an intraday chart for day trading. That is, if you're day trading, you of course don't want to hold stocks overnight. And right now, the strategy is of course holding stocks overnight. We've built in no conditions to exit at end of day. So let's go ahead and get that set up so that you can easily adjust this strategy to either be running as day trading or not. This once again just helps you with the optimization of which moving averages fit your strategies the best. So now let's hop back into our code by clicking on this scroll icon here. The very first thing we need to do is we need to create a switch for whether we want this strategy running for day trading or not for day trading. To do that, we are going to create another input variable. I'll name it day trade and I'll set it by default equal to no. If I now hit apply, of course, nothing's going to change. We haven't changed anything in the code itself, but now we have a day trade variable. And since we set it equal to that Boolean value of no, it immediately simply gives us a drop down of no or yes. This is where we'll be able to flick on day trading if we would like the strategy to exit stocks at end of day. Now, of course, we need to create the ability for this code to know that it is market hours, so that if day trading is flicked on, strategy will only enter during market open and it will exit at the end of the market day. So in order to do this here just above our buy and sell variables, I'm going to create a new variable called market hours. This is where we will define what market hours are. And the reason why we put this variable above our buy and sell variables is that codes will be read by the machine top down. You can only reference variables in the code if they are defined before where you would like to reference them. And of course, we are going to reference this market hours variable in our buy and sell variables. Defining our market hours is pretty simple. We are going to make use of two functions, seconds from time and seconds till time. We are going to say seconds from time, set the parameter inside of this, of course, being what time we want to look from, being of course 9:30, as that is when the markets open, and we want this to be greater than 0. If the seconds from time 9:30 is greater than 0, that means the markets are open, and then we're going to append to this using the and keyword. This just means that obviously statements on either side of this and need to be true in order for this variable to be true. Seconds till time, and we are going to say 3:30, 15:55. ThinkorSwim uses a 24-hour clock is greater than 0, and end this line of code with the semicolon. We go with 3:55 instead of exactly 4 o'clock, because if you put it exactly at 4 o'clock, it's going to run right up to that time, and then the trade won't close until the next candle, which, if you have extended hours trading turned off, means the opening candle of the next day. So we kind of give it that one candle buffer using a 5-minute chart of 3:55. However, we're not done with this variable yet, because remember, we're only going to care about the market hours being true if our day trade input variable is set to yes. So we are going to wrap this entire statement within an if statement. We are going to say if day trade, so basically if this is true, then we're going to care about our market hours, else I'm just going to say yes. So let me kind of define what these Boolean values are doing within ThinkorSwim. If day trade, that just basically means if the day trade variable is true. And within ThinkorSwim, we can use yes and no to define true. So right now it is no, which means that this is false, which means that we would then not care about this. We would skip over the then statement of our if, and we would skip to the else, which is set to yes. The reason I have else set to yes is because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to append, once again, using this and keyword, onto our buy and sell market hours. So and market hours and market hours. This just means now that for both our buy and our sell, that the market hours variable must also be true. So now remember, if this is set to yes, then our market hours variable is only true while the market is open. If this is set to no, then our market hours variable is always true, which basically just means it doesn't care about it. It's always yes, so it won't care about that condition at all, once again, if day trade is set to no. So now if I go ahead and apply this code to the chart and I switch my day trade to yes, you'll actually see that nothing changes. We haven't actually yet, and we're about to, but we haven't actually yet created the end of day exit condition. All we've done is we've set it up so that buy and sell orders will not trigger during extended hours. And right now, I don't even have extended hours turned on this chart, so you don't notice any difference. But if I turn on extended hours and give it a second here to load in, you will now notice that no trades are being taken, even if there are moving average crossovers in extra hours of the market, right? Only trades in which a crossover happens during market hours will be entered or exited. Now, if I were to come back in, just so I can sort of show you what I'm talking about, if I turn off day trade and hit apply, you see all of these orders now triggering. But of course, you're probably not up and trading at 2:30 in the morning. Actually, you can't even be trading at 2:30 in the morning, even though it's charted. Charles Schwab hours don't start until 7 a.m. So you could not take a lot of these trades, right? That is why we have set up the market hours the way we did. But now it is time to get our actual end of day condition created so that trades don't hold overnight like this one is down here, even with extended hours turned on. This once again is not overly complex. Since this is another order type, I'll create it here with my buy and sell order type variables just to make the code easier to read. I'll name this one end of day exit. Now, if day trade is true, then our exit is going to be seconds till time, that 15:55, just like we referenced on our market hours. But now, instead of greater than 0, I'm going to say if this is equal to 0, then fire our end of day exit, else no. This time I'm using else no instead of else yes, because of course, if we're not day trading, then I don't want this trigger to fire, right? I don't want this condition to return true if day trading is not turned on, correct? So now, once again, we need to come down and add in another add order function. This will be another sell to I can't type, sell to underscore close. This one, the condition will of course be our end of day exit. Close, position size divided by close. We'll set this one equal to color.yellow, just so it stands out. Color.yellow, and the name will be EOD, close quotation, close parentheses. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. End line of code with a semicolon as I now hit apply. Hopefully, and we do, I'm in the way, but we do see that now this trade that was entered down here, since we have day trading set to yes, this trade, as you can now see, is exiting at the end of the day rather than holding overnight. Once again, turned off my extended hours charting just so we can see more of what's going on here. And you will notice all of these trades are actually exiting at the end of day where expected. It looks a little weird because the end of day is not actually plotted until the next candle, but you'll notice that the actual arrow of the exit and the trade is drawn between closes at the close of the last bar of the previous day. ThinkorSwim just paints the orders a candle later, but we do have it set up. It is actually exiting at the right price. Everything seems to be working as expected. Now, what you would begin doing is you would come in, turn on your floating P&L study. This one is available out of the box within ThinkorSwim. It is not something custom that I have created. You turn this on, you go, obviously this is showing you either the profit or loss of the simulated trades on your chart. You can see here, hey, this doesn't look to be working too well on a 5-minute chart. Maybe on an intraday chart, shorter moving averages should be used. So let's try a 9 and a 20 instead. All of a sudden, this looks to be a little bit more profitable. Yay, yippee. Also, what I do, and hopefully what a lot of you end up doing, is I come and turn on my, this one is custom, backtest data study. This is once again something that I have custom coded that shows you much more detailed statistics of the strategy. Total P&L, win percentage, average win, average loss, your max drawdown percentage, which is very important. All of this stuff you need to know about a strategy. And once again, you come through and you decide, let's say, hey, I don't want to see day trading. I want to go back out to the daily chart and I want to look at the 50 and the 200. So if I come back out to the daily chart here, looking at the 50 and 200, I can see how the statistics of these moving averages are performing. Then I could come in and go, well, instead, let's look at the exponential, 100 and 200 instead of 50 and 200. Let's look at how these statistics are performing. So utilizing this code, you can now much more quickly gather the data required to optimize and create the best possible strategies with the moving averages. You can now figure out exactly what moving average types and lengths you should be using to create the kind of backtested statistics that you want to see that align with your trading goals. If you're interested in this strategy, in that backtested data custom labels that you saw, or over 80 other custom coded ThinkorSwim strategies, studies, scanners, etc. They are also available over on my website. Rather than signing up for the course and taking that, if you just want to access what I've already built, you can click on our codes and get signed up under that. And ThinkorSwim has this very awesome feature that makes these custom codes very easy to import. So once signed up under our codes, under ThinkorSwim, you're going to get access to everything. Nothing else is like behind another paywall or anything like that. Once you're signed up, you get access to every code. And each and every one of the 80 plus codes comes with these ThinkorSwim share links. All you need to do is simply copy that URL back within your ThinkorSwim, set up in the top right, open shared item, paste, preview, and import. Just like that, with like 10 seconds and 3 mouse clicks, you have the code imported into your ThinkorSwim. And whether you imported a study, strategy, scanner, etc., go to where you open that, type in DTS, and I just uploaded the DTS Bollinger Break study. Simply add it to your chart, and you now have my custom codes running on your ThinkorSwim. Hit the like button if you learned something in this video. Make sure you're subscribed if you would like to continue learning. And obviously, go check out the website, read the reviews, look at the prices, see if it's something that you feel like could help accelerate your trading journey. With all that being said, I'll catch you all in the next one.